Ladies and gentlemen, another day, another act of leftist violence. Unfortunately, that's what it looks like we have here with Kash Patel briefing everybody this morning on X, saying that at around 7 in the morning local time, this was in Dallas, Texas, an individual fired multiple rounds at a Dallas, Texas ICE facility, killing one, wounding several others before taking his own life. As you can see, reading on, while the investigation is ongoing, an initial review of the evidence shows an ideological motive behind the attack. See photo below. One of the unspent shell casings recovered was engraved with the phrase anti-ice. More updates will be forthcoming. And so, just like the Charlie Kirk shooter with the engravings on the casings that were anti-fascist sentiment, this is, I mean, this does seem almost fake. Now, we've looked at this individual, and it seems very obvious based off of their profile pictures and their internet activity and just the way, I mean, you can tell that this person is some leftist, likely communist type person that hates ICE and hates the fact that they're enforcing laws. But this is kind of ridiculous. I mean, that's a ballpoint pen, and they scribbled anti-ICE, the words anti-ICE. Now you would think they'd say like fuck ice or something like that, but just like anti-ice, that's the slogan. I mean, but this does seem like somebody that's mentally troubled, just like many of these liberal people are that commit these terrible acts. And you've got Newsom and others yesterday, like Newsom calling Trump a son of a bitch and really revving up the base. These people are doing the opposite of turning down the temperature because they never take accountability. They always deflect and blame others. And it's like every day there's something. You've got the Charlie Kirk assassination, but even after that, you had the bomb planted right next to a Fox News van that happened a few days after the Charlie Kirk assassination. And then you also had another leftist shoot up an ABC affiliate news station because they had taken Jimmy Kimmel off of TV. And so these people are extremely dangerous, and unfortunately, because there is no accountability, I don't really think we're going to see anything changing when it comes to whether or not this person was a copycat. Again, just judging by this, obviously it says anti-ICE, but it's just a weird thing to say. Like, normally you'd actually have a message on there. That is a message that they don't like ICE, but it's just, you would expect like fuck ICE or something along those lines. You've got J.D. Vance and Republicans very angry at this, unleashing on Democrats for the violent rhetoric against ICE and law enforcement. And this right here, if they're obsessed with democracy, this is the true definition of being anti-democracy. Donald Trump says he wants to deport every illegal immigrant in the lead up to the 2024 election. All the polls say Trump is like 60% approval on deporting all illegals, not just the violent ones. Remember back in 2016, 2017, they said just the violent ones. That's the only ones that most people want deported. Well, now it is all the illegals. And so that's like a 60% rate. ICE is just trying to do their job. They're trying to deport people. They're not even hitting their quotas. We're having to fund them more. And they haven't even deported that many people. I know they released a statistic saying it's around 2 million deportations, 1.6 million are self-deportations. Whether or not that's true, we'll have to see. But people are criticizing the administration for not deporting enough people, and that's the real issue. I had to bring down my blind there if the lighting changed, but that's the real issue. These leftists want the country to be a globalist cesspool of absolutely nothing. That's why they say we have no culture as white people, and they want the country to be overrun with illegal immigrants and deporting illegal immigrants. And no, don't mention the fact that illegals don't get due process, and Obama didn't abide by the due process rules and deported more than Trump, but nobody cares. But it's this terrible thing against Trump. And so this is Vance. He's angry about it. You can see, I think we've also got other updates. Look at this. Look at this person right here. Joshua Jan, 29 years old. Oh, is this a profile picture? Looks like another white liberal commie. Or I guess leftist commie. Now, these people identify as leftist, not liberal. But this is the early implication of this individual. Far left sniper opened fire on Dallas ICE facility. And apparently 2 people have died. They were both detainees. and he was shooting out and shooting at the ICE vans as well. Seemed like not a very well thought out attack because he didn't kill any of the officers, thank God. But it is more of the political violence by the left. These people are mentally deranged and they think it's acceptable because they've drummed up Donald Trump to be this big, bad, horrible fascist. And they think, well, if we label him a fascist, that means we're justified in committing these acts of violence because we live under a fascist regime. And this is not something that's new. This actually goes back to the post-World War II era. After the fall of Nazi Germany, anyone that had a pro-white message within the West, especially in Europe, is labeled a Nazi. And so we see Trump get labeled a Nazi as well. And they say, well, it's justified to punch a Nazi or do worse. And then you see things that happen to Charlie Kirk. And you're starting to see the issues with this rhetoric on the left. And it's overwhelmingly happening. And there's like 5 incidents in the last 2 weeks. The bomb plans, you've got this where 2 people end up dying, unfortunately. And you have the Charlie Kirk assassination, and you have the ABC News studio shot. I mean, this is getting out of control with these liberals. And so the question is, what does Trump have at his disposal? He's already declared Antifa a terrorist organization, which has been disputed on if he can even do that because they're domestic. I mean, you can label them like a terror group. I don't know about a terrorist organization. And then they say, well, we're not even real, so it doesn't count. Well, why are all these people out marching with Antifa flags and they're committing all this violence? And of course they label themselves anti-fascist, and then they use brute violence and brute force to try and relay their message, and they swarm and they just cause so much problems in terms of property damage, and the taxpayer ends up paying it. But they say, because we're anti-fascist, we're good. Well, it doesn't matter what you label yourself. It's about your actions, and the actions are terrible. And on top of that, it's a complete misnomer in terms of Trump being a fascist. If he was actually a fascist, he would be trying to eliminate the Constitution and shut down Congress. Of course, he's not doing any of that. Trump is accepting to the rulings that the Supreme Court gives out, and it is obviously just pure fear-mongering, but this is the result we see from it, and it's just time after time after time after time. And you've got people like Newsom and others that think they can just stroke the terrible messaging. And even Trump came out after the Charlie Kirk assassination. This is something the left was lying about. Trump came out and said, no, we do need peace. We don't want the violence to continue. And I was like, that's a very nice message from Trump. But there are a lot of Republicans that are angry that things like this keep happening. Thankfully, there were no ICE agents that were harmed in this. But we do know that now Newsom has passed a law. Very ironically, it's like trying to make it to where no ICE can wear masks. None of the officials can wear masks when they're operating in California, which is being challenged, and people are saying he can't go through with that. The federal agents don't have to abide by the local rulings within California, and they're going to continue wearing masks for their own safety. And so it is hilarious how the left was obsessed with masks 4.5 years ago. Now they're saying they're going to ban masks. So obviously for different reasons with COVID, but you just find that funny how that works. But this is just another situation, unfortunately. You've got Gavin Newsom. This was last night. Newsom calls ICE arresting illegal aliens authoritarian actions by an authoritarian government. And so that is the fascist verbiage last night. And then what happens? Then a sniper opens fire on an ICE facility. This happening about 7 hours after Newsom says this. Now, it's a combination of things as to why these people think the way they do, but this is a contributing factor. When you've got the potential top of the Democratic Party saying things like this, and you don't see the same thing on the right. And look, we can do this whole thing where it's like left versus right political violence, but we actually have the real numbers now, and it's like 10-1 with the leftist violence. But the thing is I don't even get roped into that, because I say, well, if the two of the most important people of the Republican Party are getting shot at, one of them gets assassinated, and there's nothing happening to any of the top Democratic people. I'm not saying there should be anything happening, but that's obviously not, that's the comparison we need to be making. If Trump and Kirk are getting shot at and nothing's happening to the Democrats, but you're trying to say Republicans cause more political violence, seriously, that's not going to work with me. It's really not. But now we even have the numbers and all of the sham surveys and polls that they were doing where they were trying to do a compilation. Whataboutism. Oh, it's actually the right that causes more political violence. We've got like 5 things within the past week where all of these top liberal politicians will say Trump's a fascist, Trump's a racist, Trump's terrible, ICE is fascist. And then you'll have this political violence against ICE, the assassination attempts against Trump. They tried to say the kids are the people committing it were conservative. They're both liberal. We know Tyler Robinson, that is still being investigated, but Tyler Robinson was liberal. They tried to claim, or I guess maybe a leftist, they tried to claim him as a Republican. And then this person, it seems like a leftist communist, further left than a liberal is what that would be. And so we will have to see. But that is just the update on this. You've got JD Vance. Let's see what Vance has to say here.
And I think that is the most disgusting thing. The very people who keep us safe ought to be honored and protected and praised by Democrats and Republicans alike. It is time to stop the rhetorical assault on law enforcement. Because here's what happens. Because here's what happens when Democrats like Gavin Newsom did say that these people are part of an authoritarian government. When the left-wing media lies about what they're doing, when they lie about who they're arresting, when they lie about the actual job of law enforcement, what they're doing is encouraging crazy people to go and commit violence. You don't have to agree with my immigration policies. You don't have to agree with Donald Trump's immigration policies. But if your political rhetoric encourages violence against our law enforcement, you can go straight to hell and you have no place in the political conversation of the United States of America.
Just some interesting observations. I don't know if this is another one of Vance's rallies. I mean, Vance has done several rallies in the Rust Belt. Now he's in North Carolina, another swing state. I mean, Vance, we know Vance is going to be the top guy for 2028, but it's already starting. It's already starting. So you have Vance there in North Carolina, Concord, and another thing to talk about. I mean, these people, this is the definition. You want to really talk about democracy. This is complete anti-democracy. The people voted for ICE agents to arrest as many illegal immigrants as possible and deport as many. That's why 60% of the country said, we want all illegal immigrants gone. Because the United States has the highest number of illegals out of any country in the world. We have a major issue. And so that's what Trump and ICE and Vance are talking about. This is the pro-democracy stance. We voted for this. We voted for ICE to deport these people. They're doing it. Yeah, there's going to be some things to where it's unfortunate. I mean, if you don't want people or families separated, you need to have a stronger border. Remember, there was at least a decent border that we had after Trump's first term. They blocked the funding. They shut down the government in 2018 to try and stop Trump from finishing the border wall construction. And that's why it wasn't fully closed. And then in 2021, on Inauguration Day in January, Biden stripped everything. He said Trump's policies are racist. We have an open door policy at the border. And that was a total joke. And that's really what cost the Democrats in 2023, 2024. And that's why, I mean, they let in, you can say 10 million, 15 million, however many it is. It's just a record number of illegals. And so this is what ICE is going to do. If you don't want families to be separated, don't let them in the country in the first place. You're the one that reversed the catch and release or return to Mexico policy. This is all the Democrats that did this. These are executive orders by Biden day one, reversing all of Trump's stern border policies during his first term. So they're the problem in terms of letting all these illegals in. And yeah, they're going to be deported back to their home countries. I'm sorry, this is the reality. They're crying about it. And then you call Trump an authoritarian. He says he's going to deport all the illegals. So we now have ICE deporting the illegals. What do you want Trump to do? What is ICE going to mess up and deport one person that they should have deported? Well, there's like 40 million illegals in the country. That's what tends to happen when there's fucking, 9,000 million illegals. I mean, this is just, it is what it is. They're trying to do their best. They're trying to deport the illegals. The American people, in a democratic way, voted for the deportation of illegals. You don't get to shoot up, and then Newsom says it's authoritarian. This is what the people voted for. They voted for the deportation of illegal immigrants. 60% agrees with the deportation of all illegal immigrants. We have the most illegal immigrants out of any country on earth. So we're going to be deporting them, and that's really what Vance is saying, and they're actually anti-democracy when they do this, because the American people overwhelmingly voted for this. Even with the popular vote, they can't even try and, because that's their ultimate cope is the popular vote. Meanwhile, the only reason they won the popular vote in, the past 4 or 5 elections is because of the rampant immigration. That's how they gain voters. About 70-30 immigrants that become naturalized, they vote liberal. 70-30. Then they say, oh, we win all these Americans. Yeah, Americans that were born in South America. That you win a lot of Americans. Or Americans that were born in Latin America. So when it comes to something like this, it's not surprising, unfortunately. There's a lot of these shootings, and the left, they just don't take any accountability. Even with something like, I mean, you saw Jimmy Kimmel come back on the air last night, and he put out a few statements. He was like, oh, you know, I didn't mean it, whatever. But he still didn't apologize. From what I heard, the intel, he didn't apologize to Erica Kirk about his statement about Charlie Kirk. And, you know, they're saying, well, it's misconstrued. He didn't mean it that way. It was obvious there was a political incentive for him to word the way, the statement in the way that it was worded. I mean, we can debate whether or not the context of it meant something versus another, because I can understand the way in which he might have intended it to mean. But it was obvious he was trying to get like the liberal blame out. And this is what they do. Whenever there's one of these crazy things, one of the leftists do it, they try and do something in terms of a distraction, or they try and muddle the waters or cloud the situation and say, well, maybe it was a right winger, maybe it was a far right wing person. And then with situations like, I mean, this is unfortunate when it comes to shooting at the ICE trucks, and apparently he didn't kill any of the agents. He did kill 2 detainees, but I don't know. It's not going to change because the liberal rhetoric is the same. And then they just blame Trump for this. They say, well, it's Trump's fault for deporting people without due process, or for allowing ICE to wear masks. I mean, that's the type of policy that the current leader of the Democratic Party is proposing, Gavin Newsom. Now we're doing the whole thing where we're banning masks. Well, isn't that ironic? Remember 5 years ago? Remember shoveling sand into the skate parks? Now we're going to ban masks. Oh, that's just that. Wow, we've come full circle now. Now we've come full circle. Okay. So it is really bad in terms of this and this leftist violence. I mean, we'll see what Trump can do. I know people are demanding he do certain things with his executive authority to stop this and to really thwart it. And look, we'll see what he's able to do and what his options are in terms of trying to stop this. But we've seen this a lot in terms of just they're trying to impede ICE. They're not allowing ICE to do their raids and deport people. This is what was voted for. If you want to deport people, this is how it happens. I mean, we have a extremely high illegal populace in the country. How else are we going to deport them? Immigration, customs enforcement has to do it. And that's why ICE has a record budget. They've got a budget that's higher than a lot of countries' military budgets, like $175 billion with the big, beautiful bill. And so we'll see if that ends up working. And I believe that's starting this next fiscal year. So it should be kicking off up in October. So either way, guys, that is going to do it for this video. Make sure you like the video down below. Also follow me on X. Link to that's always in the description.